Have you ever heard those noises around your home late at night? Sounds of moving around, but you write it off as the neighbors? Or the creaking walls as the whole place settles? Yeah, I've heard them too. All the time, actually. Sometimes it's a bit creepy, but usually I don't think much about it. That's what I was thinking when I first heard the sounds that night. It was 3 years ago, and I was sitting in my apartment bedroom playing video games. I remember the game was Dark Souls because there's quite a bit of that game that can be fairly quiet when there's not a lot of action happening. My wife was half awake in the bed behind me watching me play from my fold-out chair I used to play games on. I didn't like sitting on the bed. It was too far away, especially with a sleepy wife I would have to share it with. Every time I turned back from my chair, she was drifting off a little bit more each time. After about half an hour, I heard the soft, rhythmic sounds of snoring. I checked and saw she had fallen asleep. I smiled and continued playing quietly. Then I heard other noises. It sounded like someone was walking up and down the stairs, very faintly. It would be quiet for some time, and then I would hear something else, very faint, very distant. A few more muffled steps somewhere in the apartment. Now I lived next to a very kind old woman who was hard of hearing, so I was used to her moving about in the night and making noise. I remember the first night I heard her moving at night, I rushed out of my room with a baseball bat and my boxers, ready to fight off a would-be intruder. Except, of course, no one was in the apartment. When I told the poor old lady about it the next day, she informed me that the walls are very thin and I probably just heard her moving at night. Don't bother checking on it unless you hear the door open, alright? Trust me, your door squeaks so damn loud, even I can hear it, she said with a kindly laugh. And if your windows are anything like mine, Sammy, then the only way someone is getting through those is if they break them. They won't budge. Keep telling my grandson to come and fix it. Her ride was pulling up to the curb with a polite honk. She smiled. Don't worry about it unless you hear the door, kiddo. I remembered that any other night I heard bumps and thuds, and I remembered it this night as well. Sure, it was an odd hour, but the old lady had odd habits. Wasn't the first time she was moving around this late. I was ready to dismiss the idea completely when I heard a new noise from the apartment. Another set of shuffling steps, and then a clang. This made me put down the controller. I knew that sound. It was the sound of a frying pan I left out falling off the counter in the kitchen below me. Then, more shuffling, and my wife stirred behind me. Sam, what was that? She asked, without opening her eyes. I don't know. I'm gonna go check it out, I said, getting up from the chair. I took a few steps to the door and reached for the bat I kept behind it. I'll be right back. I turned and slowly opened the door to a dark hallway and said nothing. I let out a sigh, and then I saw something move in the darkness. Adrenaline shot through me. I grasped the bat with white knuckles, but nothing else happened. Nothing charged me. I was safe. But I still heard something on the stairs. I slowly turned the corner to check the stairs and reached for the light switch. I flipped the switch. I didn't see anything at the bottom of the stairs. A howl came over the house and I froze. Adrenaline pumped through me. Then it faded away, and I realized I had become so wound up the damn wind had spooked me. I collected myself and descended the stairs, letting the bat fall to my side. I got to the living room and looked about. I didn't see anyone or anything down here. But somehow when I looked up to the kitchen, I saw the frying pan sitting upright in the middle of the floor, far, far from the counter. I raised my bat again and approached it. Slowly, I bent down to pick it up when I heard a new sound behind me, breathing in my ear. I spun and swung the bat in the same motion, and it clapped something with a thud. It crumpled to the ground with a yelp of pain, an awfully familiar yelp of pain, and then a string of curses. Sam, what the hell? My poor wife held her arm. I dropped the bat and brought my hands to my mouth. Holy shit, I'm so sorry. I crouched down to my wife and held out with my hand. Are you alright? Yeah, I'm fine. You missed my head at least, she chuckled. Gonna have a ball at the office for telling people how I got this bruise. My face went hot from embarrassment. You know Jamie is never gonna let that one go, Carly. I helped her up. Well, that sounds like a personal problem, doesn't it? She looked at me and rubbed her arm, and then a cold breeze brought a look of confusion over her face. Darling, did you open a window? She asked with a shiver. My face went from red from shame to white with fear. No, I said, darting to the window. I reached to the window in the living room and closed it. Why hadn't I noticed this before? Had it been opened before? Something slammed against the window with a crash, hard enough to make the glass shatter. Then I heard its gurgling, strained breathing. I saw its hideous, inhuman face. Dead, black eyes stared back at me with a gnarled face out of a nightmare. It wasn't human. My head hurt just looking at it. I couldn't see movement from where its mouth should be, even if it had a mouth, but it spoke to me through the glass. I'll be right back, it said to me in my voice, a twisted echo of what I said earlier, down to the intonation. It stared at me for a long moment before disappearing right before my eyes. I stood there petrified until I came to and rushed to the phone to call the police. We didn't stay there that night and didn't return until morning. The police had come and gone, being unable to find any signs of break-in, and dismissed the whole thing as a prank call. My neighbor was waiting for us outside that foggy morning as we rolled in. She approached us, more stern than I'd ever seen her. You went and investigated the sounds, didn't you, boy? She said. Her head shook. I thought I told you, don't look unless you hear the door. What was that, I asked. You don't want to know. Just do what I said and don't look unless you hear the door open. She strode back to her door and paused, then looked back. It's what I do when I hear him. Start locking your bedroom door. It knows you know now. I don't know what this thing is, and I don't know what it's capable of, but I lock my door at night and deadbolt the front and back door. I've got alarms on the windows. I still hear the noises though. So if you ever hear noises in your apartment at night and you can't explain it and there's no way someone could have broken in, be careful. Just to be safe, stay in bed, close your eyes, try your best to ignore it, and don't go looking for it.